Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we're going to be covering a deck feature, a deck tech of a completely free-to-play, budget-friendly, zero rare, zero mythic, historic best-of-one deck that, per Untap GG, has got close to a 60% win rate, 59.4%. If we round up here, you know, it's good enough. 60% win rate, 250 games played, so fairly reasonable sample size. The deck is completely, like I said, free to play. So if you're looking to get into the eternal formats, not external, definitely something to consider. And this is a deck that can also be upgraded over time and play into a couple different artifacts. So it's something you could play now to some reasonable success, as demonstrated here on the ladder tracking, but also something you can upgrade over time. And this is they're calling it Esper Affinity. It's really blue-white artifact aggro. The black comes from Vault Skirge because of the Phyrexian mana, but most of the time you're just paying the Phyrexian cost. So this is a 1 mana spell, you pay 2 life. So the core of this deck is looking to upgrade your artifacts, your cheap little dorks, with either All That Glitters to give you a boost based on the number of artifacts you control, or enchantments, or Ensoul Artifact that takes any of your artifact creatures and turning them into 5/5 base power. You also have Michiko, Reign of Truth, where chapters 1 and 2 both allow you to give a boost similar to All That Glitters. So you can take your Ornithopter, make it a 5/5 with Ensoul Artifact. It still has flying. Your Gingerbrutes become 5/5s that can become unblockable. You could get a whole bunch of boosts there. With things like Patchwork Automaton or Michiko and Reigns of Truth. If you target like the Ingenious Smith, the base power increases, but you still have the counters on top, so you can just pump through a whole bunch of damage. Vault Skirge is an evasive flying creature with lifelink that you could give big boosts, helps in terms of racing, lets you pump through a bunch of damage and gain a bunch of life back as well. So if you're playing against mono red, wizards, some of the aggro decks of the format, you're dealing them damage but gaining life at the same time. And then for best of one, the format is fairly aggressive. So for similar low to the ground creature mirrors, you have portable holes as well as Glass Casket. So 7 exile-based removal spells that hit 2 and 3 mana scaled creatures that also count towards your artifact cost. So when you cast these, you get your triggers on Ingenious Smith, Patchwork, but then also count for the bonuses of things like All That Glitters, Michiko, stuff like that. And then finally, you get your mana base, which allows you to use things like Darksteel Citadel, which is an indestructible land, which, by the way, you can enchant as well, because this says enchant artifact. So you can make an indestructible 5/5 land if you want. You could also do the same with Razortide Bridge. This allows you to have both blue and white mana for your deck, but also could become an indestructible creature with Ensoul Artifact. So you could basically run out 8 indestructible 5/5s, or have targets for up to 8, 4 of these. The deck also features Shefet Dunes, which is a pump spell for your team. So, like I said, no rares, no mythics. Great starting point if you want to jump into the format. Really easy upgrades for this deck are stuff like Esper Sentinel, 1 mana artifact creature that helps you draw cards. You could play Retrofitter Foundry, which lets you turn your Ornithopters into 4/4 for basically you just cast your spell, and then it taps on taps. It's a good mana sink. Shadow Spear as a way to give all your big creatures lifelink and trample. There's a lot of ways you can go, and eventually what you could build is either the blue-white midrange artifacts list with Nettle Cyst. You can build like various Karn piles. You can build the Boros-based aggro versions of the deck with Luris, and then just create like a whole bunch of 4/4s, really abusing Retrofitter Foundry. So it gives you the basis of a pretty solid deck that can be updated over time and gets you in a format of historic where once you kind of have a deck, like I've been playing mono red, variants of mono red for like 2 years. Each set I maybe add 1 card in. So it helps if you're trying to avoid the churn of like every time a new standard set comes out, you're replacing cards. So I'm going to drop the deck list for this. If you want to give it a shot, let me know how it works out for you. whenever I spot decks like this, these budget-friendly decks to help folks get into Explore, Historic, whatever it may be, I'll always feature these. If you're just looking in general for meta stats, like what are the best decks in Standard, Historic, Explorer, Alchemy, whatever it may be, I do a weekly meta section on this channel where we cover all the best decks. We use stats like you see here, so we don't just say this deck's the best. We don't do arbitrary tiers. I look at bunch of games played, bunch of stats, and we really kind of take an analytical approach to the arena experience and really kind of highlight what are the best decks. So make sure to subscribe if you're interested in stuff like that. And as always, if you can, drop a like, comment, and we'll catch you next time.